We are constantly inundated with inspirational movies and statements that are meant to motivate us to do the tasks at hand, aren't they? The neuroscience of motivation explains why this initial desire, this thrill, only lasts for a brief period of time. A spike in dopamine occurs, which, for those who are unaware, is the neurotransmitter of motivation rather than pleasure, as it is sometimes mistaken for. This molecule gives us a brief boost in motivation, but you can see that it only lasts a short while. When we don't feel like going to the gym, for instance, we occasionally turn on a motivating video to watch. It works well at that moment, but try to do it consistently. You'll discover that sustained motivation in spurts is insufficient for self-control, discipline, and habit maintenance. Long-lasting intrinsic motivation is what we're looking for. In contrast to the other type, which functions more like a bucket filled with water, this intrinsic motivation will act more like a bucket with tiny holes in the bottom that will allow water to be poured in, but not remain. Additionally, repetition is necessary if you wish to or are currently working toward a goal. Furthermore, there are no quick cuts to reaching that objective, no matter how clear it may seem. There are, of course, more intelligent ways to work, study, work out, and diet, but even in the most efficient ways to complete a task, consistency and repetition must always come first. Because it doesn't feed back, we can be really motivated at times and still do nothing, and a lot of people struggle mentally inside themselves to perform the same tasks over and over again for however long it takes to reach their objectives. For instance, you may have a goal for a six-pack, but due to the lack of consistency, there hasn't been any real improvement. Additionally, these individuals most likely lack self-control and discipline. Self-control and discipline, in my opinion, are the missing keys that open the door to reaching your objectives. Discipline is frequently viewed negatively. It reminds us of rigidity and feels dull, exhausting, and uncomfortable, doesn't it? Additionally, those who have attempted and failed to go through a more disciplined phase are likely to remember that time period more vividly. I recall attempting to adhere to an extremely tight diet in order to compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament. You had to be disciplined then, didn't you? I had to be energetic going into the competition, have had enough training, and of course, be able to lift the weight required for my category. However, I recall how difficult those first 2 months were. Having to cope with that diet and that circumstance caused me to be under continual psychological stress. It seems as though the rigidity eventually took its toll, because after it was over, I resumed eating fast food 3 times a week and not exercising properly. I even lost the first fight in the Jiu-Jitsu championship, which I attribute to my becoming rigid in the sense of discipline. However, my understanding of discipline has been totally altered by the Stoics. Now, self-control and discipline are not viewed negatively. Rather, they are necessary for me to be free, at peace, and content with who I am. Along with other similar qualities like self-control, endurance, and perseverance, discipline was seen as a virtue by the Stoics. Using their days wisely was important to the Stoics. Seneca, for instance, advises us to act quickly because life is brief and not to waste time. Marcus Aurelius consistently cites nature to support his claim that humans are inherently inclined to work. Furthermore, when we discuss work and workers, we are not referring to the specific work that immediately springs to mind, but rather to the act of working on something, that is, improving our ability to focus, think, and perform other tasks. And self-control and discipline are undoubtedly among those abilities. I'm Lutz, and I host a podcast about personal growth in which we speak with doctors, neuroscientists, and elite athletes to learn more about how people function. What precisely is self-discipline then? The ability to do what you know you should do, even when you don't want to, is how the dictionary defines it. However, I honestly disagree with that last part a little. There would be no purpose in doing something if we didn't want to. Keep in mind that life is brief and that you will die, memento mori. Why would we do anything contrary to our desires? We are frequently influenced to pursue an objective that isn't truly what we want by other people's beliefs, viewpoints that differ from our own, and the surroundings we are in. Discipline, then, is not about getting up at 4:30 in the morning and taking a cold shower because someone told me it was vital. It isn't that. I think a more accurate definition would be the capacity to perform an action repeatedly while keeping a certain objective in mind. Still, it's important to learn more about how the reward and motivation systems in our brains function. Dopamine, or motivation, is only released by our brain when it anticipates a reward. Without a doubt, if you lack motivation, you lack a clear idea of the benefit that will result from doing that task. The fact that I'm going to offer you 100 reais if you go to the gym tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning gives you a clear and instant reward, which encourages you to go. Or perhaps, in order for your brain to inspire you for purposes other than meeting your physiological requirements, you must first attend to the fundamentals of your own biology. What do you mean then? Your brain will only be motivated to rest if you sleep poorly, for instance, getting less than 7 hours a night, or even 7 or 8 hours, but the sleep is of poor quality. You wake up frequently during the night, and you only get a superficial sleep because you've had coffee at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes you may ask yourself, why am I not motivated to go to the gym and follow the diet? I'm just here to procrastinate. You're motivated to do it because procrastination is also a motivator. This occurs as a result of compensating for a fundamental physiological need, rest. In order to establish a chemical environment in your body and brain that supports self-control and discipline, the first step is to comprehend your biological and physiological demands. You can't expect to resist eating McDonald's instead of fruit after work or college, for example, if you're not getting enough sleep. Therefore, it takes a primordial discipline, that is, discipline that comes before anything else, to do what we should do, or rather, what we want to do, what we know is best for us. This primordial discipline includes placing importance on things like food, sleep, and physical activity. Chemicals that are influenced by these innate behaviors will control everything you wish to do, everything. You must so establish basic routines for going to bed and waking up, as well as a more natural diet that includes actual food, peeling more, and unpacking less. Furthermore, physical activity is obviously distinct from physical exercise. We frequently lack the motivation to practice or have limited time, and it occurs. What's keeping us from taking a 15-minute walk on those days, though? You are already releasing hormones when you engage in any physical exercise, which alters this physiological environment and aids in self-control and discipline. Therefore, we will already be disciplined if we follow the rules, which are the fundamentals we have covered so far, and abstain from the things we shouldn't, like going out to clubs every Friday night and disrupting your sleep. And while getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, and exercising may seem easy and stupid, I can guarantee that your brain will require some time to adjust. You won't be inspired to eat healthily, work out, and get enough sleep every day after watching this movie. You will need to adopt a new way of living, one in which you value your time and your health. The historians understood that life is short, that we will all die, that this experience here with people will come to an end, and that if it does, will I spend my time on pointless pursuits, or will I use it to numb the pain of not being able to achieve my goals? Therefore, I believe that the first step to discipline is to appreciate your body, your food, your time, your rest, and yourself. Stoic philosophy incorporates the three dimensions, self-control, work, and purpose, in different ways. The Stoics were not indolent, despite their pursuit of inner calm. They understood that, for us humans, living in harmony with nature meant making good use of our bodies and thoughts, being active, creative, and adding to the total. Epictetus maintained that Hercules became the hero he is today because he overcame adversity. If he had not employed his great soul and strong body, what would have happened to him? Because that's what he was built for, not to spend his life eating fast food, watching Netflix, and banging cock. The world presented him with difficulties that required a strong man like him, like Hercules. By pursuing his instincts, he not only rose to fame, but also made a positive impact on society by removing several threats to his fellow humans. That is to say, it was a win-win scenario. According to Stoic philosophy, how can we develop self-control and self-discipline? Realizing the importance of self-control is the first step. According to Epictetus, we ought to think of life as a feast. When a platter is set in front of us, we should eat it carefully and refrain from grabbing it if it hasn't arrived yet. We shouldn't stop it if it goes by, but it would be preferable if we could turn down what is offered to us. We are divine because of our might. It's interesting to note that this is really tough at first. For instance, a vegan would have to go to a steakhouse to enjoy herself with her friends and just sit there talking, according to a nutritionist I spoke with on the podcast this week, who is also vegan. She claimed that it occasionally occurs and that she and her pals had to learn how to handle it. How many times do we refuse to accept something only due to peer pressure, environmental pressure, or pressure from others? One essential component of discipline is self-control. By exercising self-control, we can avoid doing inappropriate activities and strive toward a particular objective. For instance, writing an essay is a straightforward task in theory. All we need to do is commit the required number of hours to research and writing. However, in practice, we would find it extremely challenging to complete this task, and a significant portion of this difficulty stems from the way we handle distractions. Furthermore, the distractions that life throws to us are beyond our control. The things that are beyond our control are therefore those that are not the result of our own acts, as Epictetus states. However, we do have power over how we relate to the circumstances outside our control. Therefore, we have no influence over the people who ask us out to drinks, the premiere of the newest season of our favorite show, or those who try to undermine us by disparaging and opposing us. The world will always have a lot to offer that could grab our attention and cause us to reconsider our decisions, no matter how hard we attempt to resist. Naturally, this is growing as a result of the current technology advancements. An intriguing comment from Steve Jobs essentially states that, so, how did he reach the objective in his case? He claims that he always had brilliant ideas, therefore, he had many fantastic ideas about what to accomplish. However, it was his ability to turn down good ideas that allowed him to lead Apple to its current position. Naturally, we have some control over how many distractions we encounter. Therefore, minimizing our interactions with that kind of person and setting up our living space in accordance with our objectives. However, in the end, the outer world, including our immediate surroundings, is somewhat dependent on chance. Who our buddies are is beyond our control. What can we do then? We can improve our self-discipline. We can increase our resolve to complete the tasks at hand by fortifying our focus against the unavoidable distractions. Temptations won't derail us from our objective if we possess the fortitude to turn down what is presented to us. Guys, I'm talking about strength here, but self-control takes practice. We must become proficient at it by being exposed to it, to distractions, to repetition, and to refraining from participating in those diversions. The only way to improve our self-control is to do this. I'm going to explain a little bit about brain plasticity now, but our brains don't make learning leaps. Therefore, it's important to realize that brain plasticity takes time, exposure, and repetition. In our instance, self-control. But it could be applied to anything when you change a habit or a way of living. Of course, getting enough sleep is also necessary to improve our neuronal connections for learning. Do you see the connections between things? Therefore, the more we gain control over distractions and temptations, the less effective they will be for us, and we experience what historians ultimately refer to as freedom, the instant these diversions and temptations have little or no control over us. It's the liberty to do as we like within the framework of discipline, and notice how powerful that is. Freedom in the sense that our activities are no longer dictated by external factors or situations. Discipline is all about that. We're working to accomplish the goals we set out to accomplish. Research. If we are unable or unwilling to put in the necessary effort, how can we accomplish anything? According to the Stoic perspective, work is not only vital, but also our purpose in life. As humans, we have special abilities to serve the entire, just as everything else in the cosmos has a place. Since working is in our nature, the Stoics viewed diligence, that is, taking the time, effort, and attention necessary to complete a task, as a virtue. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself in his meditations of his responsibilities as both an emperor and a human. When he struggled to get out of bed in the morning, he would explain, "As a human being, I have to go to work. What am I supposed to be complaining about? if I'm going to fulfill the purpose for which I was created. Or was it my purpose in life to curl up and feel cozy under the covers? Returning to the present, were you designed to constantly browse Instagram and TikTok? To always consume McDonald's? The Stoic emperor reminds himself that he wasn't born to be comfortable, even though it is definitely more pleasant to remain in bed. He talks about the work that bees, spiders, ants, sparrows, and plants do. The same thing applies to our hunter-gatherer ancestors. We put effort into doing what needed to be done in those days. We simply don't do it anymore due to all the distractions, which you are well aware of, including the chemical distractions in food and the electronic distractions. And we have a hard time doing things these days. These organisms strive to maintain order in the world and engage in the activities that nature has provided for them. According to Marco Aurelio, why don't you run to fulfill nature's demands? And of course, it's not only about working. We won't work nonstop. You are well aware of how important it is to rest, sleep, and unwind. Additionally, according to Marco Aurelio, nature has placed a limit on this, just as it has on eating and drinking. Thus, there are times to work and times to unwind. You need a period of heavy effort, followed by a period of great relaxation. This is more of a contrast than a precise balance. These days, it varies occasionally because I clearly divide my day into mornings. Naturally, I go to bed quite early, at 8 p.m., and work or study from 4 a.m. to noon. I wake up at 4 a.m. Following that, it's relaxation and rest. And anyone who listens to my show is aware that I broke down both financially and emotionally the instant I made the decision to work non-stop in what I like to call active mode. Therefore, our true goal is to rekindle our passion for diligence. Since it has been a normal and intrinsic aspect of human existence since the beginning of time, we might want to view it as enjoyable rather than as a punishment or something unpleasant or challenging. And we can search for anything that suits our unique personalities to make this easier. Therefore, Hercules, for instance, had a strong athletic body that made him well suited to guarding the helpless. Writing, art, and science will be better suited for others. Nature has endowed us with special qualities. Additionally, from a Stoic perspective, it is our duty as humans to respect them by using them in a way that benefits the whole. You can leave the world a little better than when you found it, or you can leave it with your loved ones, yourself, or those near to you. According to Seneca, we are squandering the most of our limited lives. How many individuals ramble through life without a purpose or objective to focus their energies on? And as I previously stated, we must first have a goal to strive toward in order to feel inspired. Whatever that star is in the sky, we need it so that we can sprint in its direction. Lack of a clear and definite goal is the simplest way to live an unruly existence, like your uncle who smokes cigarettes, drinks beer, and does nothing with his life. Without goals or objectives, we will rapidly focus our energies on things that will not benefit us in the long run. Then, as Marco Aurelio mentioned, there is another kind of error to stay away from: busy individuals who do nothing. They grow weary and exhausted, yet they lack a purpose and don't suggest a broad course of action or project. Being unruly also wears you out, and it does so without providing any genuine benefits. In today's world, how can we exhaust ourselves? By binge-watching TV shows and films, drinking, playing video games, and throwing parties. This isn't necessarily incorrect. These things have their proper time. The issue arises when we use these items to numb the pain of procrastination. After that, it becomes an issue. Furthermore, it's not as though we're doing nothing when we engage in any of these activities. Nothing is accomplished if nothing is done. Short-term joys are consuming our time and, more importantly, our energy. And all we do is work to continue on this circle of materialism and little pleasures. I recognize that life feels meaningless to a lot of individuals. Your comments are visible there, and accomplishing something bigger, like reaching your goals, dreams, and everything else, seems unachievable. However, what's likely happening is that these people are aimless, which may be because they are afraid of failing, for instance. Additionally, it's difficult to decide on a course these days due to the abundance of possibilities. Do you recall the anecdote I told you about focus and Steve Jobs? Many people are perplexed by the paradox of choice, which leads them to want innumerable things but ultimately obtain nothing significant. Consequently, those who are lost in the wastelands of modernity gain from deciding on a single objective and putting everything else aside. According to Marco Aurelio, run until the end and stop gradually. For as long as you can, be your own savior if you value your health. Even if we have the ability to make our own decisions, will we allow others to do so for no apparent reason? Will we be tossed about like leaves in the wind, or will we wander in vain? Or will we use our one real power, the capacity to decide and act, to our advantage? Having a clear and firm goal makes it much simpler to remain strict with oneself. We can also keep our eyes on the finish line and see it approach each day, which boosts our confidence by proving we can accomplish our goals. Progress tracking and process rewards encourage us to keep moving forward, which prevents us from mindlessly slowing down. Additionally, subscribe to the channel if you want to receive your weekly dosage of inspiration and Stoic wisdom applied to contemporary situations. What is going on? I'll stop here since I'm Lutz. Goodbye until the next time.